Welcome back to the Dark Truth Diaries, where we peel back the polished surface of everyday life and discover the shadows hiding underneath. Tonight's story is one of the most shocking cases of betrayal ever recorded, one that blends religious devotion, marital deception, emotional manipulation, and a plan so twisted it left an entire community questioning everything they thought they knew about faith, trust, and morality. This isn't a ghost story. This isn't fiction. This actually happened. So settle in, dim your lights, silence your phone, and prepare yourself. Because tonight, we're diving into the pastor's wife who faked her own death to frame her husband. A story of betrayal so deep, you'll question what someone who claims to be righteous might be capable of doing in the dark. Let's get started. In the small, tight-knit town of Willow Creek, Pastor Thomas Hale and his wife, Rebecca Hale, were the couple everyone admired. Thomas was a calm, soft-spoken man in his early 40s. Rebecca, elegant and composed, taught Sunday school and led the women's fellowship group. Together, they represented what people believed a Christian marriage should look like. To outsiders, they were perfect. But inside their home, they rarely spoke. Their marriage was crumbling. And Rebecca was tired of pretending. While Thomas dove deeper into church work, Rebecca drifted into resentment. And slowly, quietly, she began thinking of a life without him. Not just a divorce. Not separation. But something far more dangerous. Because Rebecca believed something. If she couldn't have the perfect life, she would create the perfect story. People in the church began noticing changes. Rebecca stopped smiling. She stopped coming early. She stopped participating in events she used to organize. She even began skipping services, something unheard of for a pastor's wife. One of the church members, Linda Harper, later said. Her eyes changed. She looked hollow. Like she was planning something. Rebecca was, in fact, planning something. She began documenting arguments that never happened. Writing in her journal about fear, abuse, and danger. She even took pictures of bruises she caused herself with household items. It was preparation. Evidence. A trail. Because Rebecca wanted the world to believe she was a battered, terrified wife. Even though Thomas had never laid a hand on her. Thomas, unaware of what was happening, thought they simply needed counseling. He suggested marriage therapy. Rebecca refused. He asked what he could do. She responded with silence. Behind his back, she told church members she was scared of him. She told friends he had a temper. She even hinted she might need a safe place to stay. But when confronted directly, she denied ever saying such things. She was creating chaos, but from a distance. Never enough to attract suspicion to herself, just enough to make him look unstable. Thomas grew more worried. He told his assistant pastor, Mark. I feel like I'm losing her, and I don't even know why. He had no idea that Rebecca had already crossed the line of no return. Meanwhile, Rebecca was drowning in secret debt. Credit cards Thomas didn't know about. Loans she took out using the church address. And gambling losses she kept hidden for years. If she divorced Thomas, the debt would surface. Her reputation would crumble. Her carefully curated image as a perfect Christian woman would shatter. She needed a way out. A clean exit. One that made her look like a victim. And then one day, she found her solution. A crime documentary playing on TV. A story about a woman who disappeared without a trace. Police assumed the husband did it. Rebecca watched, and smiled. One night, Thomas came home to find Rebecca crying at the kitchen table. She told him she needed space. A few days away. Time to think. Thomas agreed, desperate to save their marriage. Rebecca packed a single suitcase, but not to think. To vanish. She drove 3 hours to a remote cabin she had secretly rented under a fake identity. Lydia Carson. At the cabin, she left her car hidden and took an Uber into another town under her alias. Then she bought supplies. A burner phone. Cheap wigs. Makeup. A used backpack. And a set of clothes from a thrift store, clothes she had no intention of wearing for long. Back at the cabin, she laid out the scene. A torn shirt. Blood droplets from a small cut on her arm. Signs of a struggle. And then she vanished into the woods on foot, leaving behind the setup that would soon launch a national investigation. 2 days later, hikers found the cabin door slightly open. Inside, they saw the staged struggle. They called police. Detectives arrived and immediately treated it as a possible abduction. Then they found the journal pages Rebecca left intentionally. "I'm scared. If anything happens to me, it was Thomas." Her signature at the bottom. Thomas was arrested within hours. He cried during the questioning, insisting he had no idea where she was. But Rebecca had planned too well. Her journal. The staged scene. Her past complaints. Her bruises. Her sudden disappearance. Everything pointed to him. Rebecca wasn't done. She traveled to another state under her fake name and checked into a shady motel. There, she paid a man $200 cash to do something horrifying. Call the police and report that he found a corpse near the river, a woman matching Rebecca's description. He did it. Police responded. They found nothing. But the tip added fuel to the fire. National news outlets began reporting. Pastor suspected in wife's disappearance. Domestic violence leads to possible murder. Exactly what Rebecca wanted. Meanwhile, she watched every news broadcast, smiling. Rebecca thought she was flawless. But she made one mistake. A small one. One she never imagined would matter. When she bought the supplies under her fake name, she used the same gas station she used as Rebecca Hale. Cameras caught her license plate. Detectives traced it. The timestamp matched the purchase made by Lydia Carson. It didn't make sense. Why was a pastor's wife at a gas station an hour away, buying supplies the day before she vanished? Detectives dug deeper. And the cracks widened. Her cabin rental had a security camera she didn't see. It recorded her arriving alone, not fleeing. They also found the Uber driver who took her to another town. Piece by piece, Rebecca's perfect story collapsed. 3 weeks after her disappearance, police tracked the burner phone to a motel in Tennessee. They surrounded the building. Room 17. Door cracked open. Inside, lying on the bed with the TV playing news about her own death, was Rebecca Hale. Her disguise was sloppy. Her wig crooked. Her face hollow. When officers arrested her, she simply whispered, "I almost got away with it." Thomas was released after 19 days in jail. His reputation destroyed. His church divided. His trust shattered. When asked what he felt after her arrest, he said only, "I mourned a woman who was still alive. And she tried to bury me while breathing." Rebecca faced charges of fraud, identity theft, filing a false police report, evidence tampering, attempted framing, and emotional abuse. She was sentenced to 18 years in prison. Thomas moved out of Willow Creek and never returned to ministry. The church still refuses to speak about the case. And that is the story of a woman who turned deception into performance art. A pastor's wife who faked her own death and nearly destroyed an innocent man's life, just to escape her own mistakes. A reminder that sometimes, the people who smile the most, hide the darkest truths. Thank you for joining me today on the Dark Truth Diaries. If this story shook you, remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into betrayal, obsession, and real-life darkness. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and always question the stories you're told. Thank you.